Dear students, welcome to Managing Human Capital or maybe Managing Human Resources. Yes, immediately after first sentence, the controversy, how we are going to call and why we are going to call this model in a particular way. We will deal with that. So, in managing human capital, let us use that name, we will deal with the main resource in organization, main capital in organization, main aspect and essence of the organization, people, and how people can be assist, if you want, how people can be managed, people can be lead, or how people in our organization could be served for betterment of them and also the organization. So, as you can see, Ziegler's quote, you don't build a business. What do? You build people, and then people build a business. Maybe that's one of the core understanding and perspective we are going to deal in this module for the upcoming not less than 8 weeks. So we will start with the essence and fundamental difference between managing human resources towards managing human capital. And you will see it's an ocean of difference, and that's going to set up the tone, hopefully not only in this module for the upcoming some weeks, but also for your personal life and influence and impact you're going to have in your own organization. That's the reason why we are running this course. We are not doing that just for the sake of grade and passing the module, which is fine. We are doing that for something more. So if I can urge you, if you can think on perspective that we are looking for the lifetime impact through this module and education, you and I, me and you, are going to go through together. So we are going to speak about some key elements human resources are bringing and need to be addressed in any organization. We are going to speak about the recruitment, performance management, training aspects from the conscious leadership, conscious entrepreneurship in terms of human resources. How do we balance also some ethical consideration versus outcome, and how do we measure the performance? So we will have a number of challenging topics and some theoretical framework, but also a number of practical example, insights, how things are done in the world. And doing so, going through it, we are looking towards success in terms of catching the ideas, reasons, practicalities to help us move forward in our organization, and of course to have new filter, new insight, which is going to upgrade our performance, bring the value to the organization, but maybe primary bring perspective in our own life, which is going then to assist and serve others. So quite ambitious, I agree, and but we are definitely going to aim for that. Thank you. Immediately jumping to the essence, let us start our discussion between managing human resources versus managing human capital. And what's the main difference? What do we really see as a core of differentiation, which is definitely essential for understanding the subject, is how organization perceive the value in their organization. Do they perceive value in the processes or in the humans, in the living force or matter? And pretty much that's the certain tension in understanding. Managing or human resources traditionally, meaning from traditionally saying 130, 140 years, from late end of 19th century, employees, and that's the name coming from, employees are seen as resource. And that's a little bit challenging. Resource means that you are having something which can be used, measured, placed on another place. It can be invest like a brick from one place to another place. On the other side, we have seeing the humans as capital, as a value, which is much later term, but that's extending as a, in one sense, diametrically opposite understanding. How do we see? So the term management in itself, which is used, implies particular control, supervision, which can be, and it is, limiting understanding and dealing with the complexity of the human potential. So in our case, in this module, we are seeing human, as you know, as the students of conscious leadership, as a most precious aspect of organization, living force, which is making organization the organizations. So you can see how we divided, or at least certain insight into the aspects of organization, how human resources are seen, or human capital. So in one sense, resource can be managed, as we said, but human capital is to be developed, invest, supported. Then how do we deal technologically? It's limited in a sense when you deal with the managing human resources. But when they use the technology in field of and seeing as a human capital management, is definitely extensive engagement. So, and maybe the most essential and clear to understand differentiation is how human resources are seen as a day-to-day operational management. But in a human capital, we see long-term impact and utilization and interaction amongst the human. So one focus is on administration and operational way how organization is going to perform, and with the human capital is different. Long-term strategic value, long-term approach, and long-term growth. So that's the fundamental difference we are teaching and we are seeing as a main differentiation between the managing human resource and human capital. Indeed, this is something each of us should clearly understand, clearly perceive in organization and act accordingly. That's the core value. Yes, and we can ask, but why? Why this distinction matters so much? It matters, and once we crack it, we understand it, and we able to utilize that understanding, we can also see the organization we are in from different perspective, and it can help us in our moving forward and achieving the objectives for the common good, not only organization, which can be exclusive approach, but also for the individuals. So in human resource management, as you can see here, is more focused on operation. What can be tracked, what can be completed, what can be measured. In another side, with the human capital management approach, we are seeing, as we said, more dealings are based on investment, training, and growth. So we are looking to increase the value of individuals, which is naturally going to reflect in organizational values and outcome. So how do we, as we initially already said, deal with the recruiting on managing human resources level? We are speaking about resources which are going to bring the profitability, which are going to be efficient, and that's pretty much what we are looking for. On another level, more integrated level, when we are seeing humans as a capital, we are looking towards long-term economic objectives. How do we assist our capital to also grow while performing, not to be in a position where you are seeing your work as something to be done, but we are looking towards increased values, how we are going to see the way how we are performing, we are acting in the organization is bringing the value towards organization. That's nourishing approach. And another way or another distinction how we see human resources and human capital is transactional and transformational approach. Transactional is just as in every transaction, you just deal with moving one thing to another. That's it. Transformational means growing, evolving, uplifting, and getting better and distilled in a better way. And even if you want to look from another point of view, that's from the strategic value, how do we envision operation, then human resources are more dealing with the day-to-day, just to be done approach. But human capital is long-term. So in human capital management, we are aspiring to treat employees as an asset, to be developed, to be assisted for the higher good. And with human resource management, it's more focused on a managerial workforce, processes, operation, how to just do things in as efficient, as better way. So people are not so important versus people are important. So this distinction is super important in a module like our module and in our study of MBA, because that's for us something which makes a huge difference in value, but also in approach to life and operation we are involved, meaning the current day-to-day work. But let us bring some practical example, which is going to for sure help us understand those two approaches. How do we treat the human? Is it resource or is it a capital? East, Foxconn, big company from China, Taiwan, their strategy, their operation is always dealing with the strict compliance with the norms and regulation, hardcore determined numbers, scheduling, and streamed operation. So, as a result, huge production, people are not so much into consideration, numbers are there. And if you push too much, then you really get mechanical, completely in fact, mechanical approach where the employees' satisfaction and treatment is really underrated. That's the reason why, as you can see, that many companies which are looking towards as better production, as clearer standardized products, as bigger efficiency, they will go towards East most of the time and get human capital, or maybe we can say human resources, to be engaged on a lower scale of participation, just to perform their work, and that's the place we are ending up. Another extreme, or maybe another approach, is something which is coming from well-known companies in the Western world, USA especially, where people are the focal central point of organization. And example is the Google. Well, Google, which is in one sense very difficult company to compare, but we can learn from them and see that as a case study where the people are the main asset, and they look always towards people as something which needs to be invested, and they will produce the value which is ultimately pour downscale and also to other countries based on the wonderful ideas those very same humans are going to produce. So everything is based on career advancement initiatives, building up the skills, individual skills, which are going to help, or maybe not evidently help their day-to-day operation on the work, but long term, people are going to evolve, become so is immersed in a high knowledge of the subject and other related fields, which is going to help them to bring the best out of them. So that's pretty much we can see, and we can do the studies of number of Google employees, how they were able to tailor their workplace based on their needs, but they were also on a level they will not abuse that position. And now what's in between? Yes, world is not black, it's not white, it's not this or that, it can be combination. And a combination is Germany. Germany is doing many things which is kind of in between. What does it mean? Well, in Germany, for some of you who maybe don't know, they have conditionally saying dual educational system. Students, this is interesting, they start already from the secondary level. Students are expected to go to do many practical operational activities directly in a company. That's the way they learn how things are going on. In the same time, they are also getting additional education and theoretical models just to be able to build up their own personality, but not only practical skills. So it's kind of combination how Germans are doing, but Germans are not only one, but you can see in a company like Siemens or BMW, they have particular system. They have long-term investment, it's human capital, that's the way how they treat their employees, but also they are doing additional education to be able to cope with the day-to-day work. So we can say that's human resource management approach. So, and what's the result? As a symbiosis of those two, is that Germany is still having the lowest youth unemployment rate in whole Europe. Why? Because the youth is already very skillful, and that's the way how they deal it. And I would say that can also be insightful model for all of us to say, okay, there is something in between, things what needs to be done and individuals which needs to be done, how to make space, breathing space for both. And there are many models which are in fact trying to answer that dogma or that challenge or that riddle. Thank you.